Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Inventory app for Visual Manufacturing webinar. Today, I'm going to take you through to an introduction of best practices and proven tools to reconcile inventory, work in process, labor, and gain visibility in various key areas of visual. My name is Valeria Vico. I serve as a visual financial specialist at BMS 365 or Business Monitoring Systems. And I'm an accountant and have been in consulting capacity for visual since 2005. Prior to that, I worked in corporate finance for manufacturing companies. So over the next 30 minutes, we're going to review 3 common challenges visual users face when reconciling inventory. What is the Inventory app and what can it do for you? And I'm going to also give you a live demonstration of the Inventory app. So just a couple of housekeeping items. The lines are muted at the moment, but I'm going to open them up probably at the end, close to the end of the session, if you want to ask questions. Or if you have questions, don't hesitate to type them on the chat section of the GoToMeeting. I hope everybody sees my screen properly. If you don't, just again type it on the chat section of GoToMeeting and we are going to help you out. All right, so let's start. So the 3 common challenges visual users face and 3 common questions sometimes. So these are: which visual reports show the correct numbers? How can we get to the source of the issue effectively? And how and when do we fix those costing issues? So those are common questions every time we're called to troubleshoot inventory issues. These are the main concerns. So let's start reviewing the first one. Which are the main reports? Which report has the right numbers? So there are 3 areas of visual that show you the inventory numbers: the Inventory Valuation report, the inventory balances, and the general ledger. The Inventory Valuation report is the core of the transactions. So that is the one that has your true numbers. I know it's challenging to get a picture of it at month end, but we have a solution for that. And that's why we created, that was one of the main reasons we created the Inventory app. And we have to fix the issues or the errors, discrepancies on the inventory valuation first in order to ensure that all the other reports are showing accurate information. The inventory balances, and here is where finance usually gets confused. The inventory balances is a secondary table. That table gets updated when you run costing utilities and you prepare manufacturing journals. However, there are certain things that, certain routines that are run through the back end that get not updated or do not update that secondary table properly. So that is why, if there are discrepancies between the valuation and the balances report, the first one we need to trust is the valuation. The balances report can have its own issues due to, failures when visual transfers the information from the transaction table over to the financial tables. And the last spot where we see the inventory numbers is the general ledger. We have the control accounts that show the ending balances for inventory. So that is the final outcome. And sometimes, or most of the time, the GL matches the valuation. The GL does not match the balances report. And that is when we start, getting confused. In that case, we need to just trust the GL basically, and again, go back to the source, go back to the valuation. Just go and check the valuation report as of month end, reconcile it to the GL, and make sure the inventory balances get fixed so that it matches the other 2. Now, there are some circumstances where the GL may not show the right numbers, and those are when we change product codes. So changing product codes at the part level creates certain or activates certain triggers in the database that make visual go back to the inventory transactions and reclassify the entries. So those changes are not reflected in the valuation report, and that's when we start seeing differences. And unfortunately, those are really challenging issues to fix. So we do not have to change product codes. That must be a policy in every company. If you do need to change product codes, then it's better to talk to the experts and find the proper procedure to do that. All right, so why are these inventory reports important, and how what's the impact in the reconciliation process? So there are certain steps in the reconciliation process that we need to follow. So first of all, we need to validate the inventory valuation report. As we saw previously, that is the core of the system. That report has the true numbers. Once we get those fixed and we trust our inventory valuation report, we compare that report as of month end to the inventory balances. So the inventory balances, again, it gets out of whack sometimes due to failures on updating that secondary table, and there are fixes. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard about the recalculate inventory balances fix. So that's the one we use to synchronize the valuation report to, excuse me, the balances report. The next step is to, once we have those two matching, the next step is to match the balances report, because the advantage of the balances report is that it's showing GL accounts. So if we match GL accounts, those in the balances report, to our general ledger, and everything is balanced, then that is the numbers that we can trust, and that is what we can publish. There is a fourth step that we recommend you follow, is to create a checklist. So when we reconcile month end, we're looking for accuracy, of course, but we also want consistency. So you basically capitalize on the learning. So you get your users to follow always the same process, and that ensures more accuracy in the future. And then obviously we look for balance as well. So creating a checklist is key, and educating users is also very important. All right, so the BDI, or the inventory app, is basically an app we created to help you with those challenges. And it is an app that allows you to backdate the inventory valuation report as of any time, actually, but users obviously will do it as of month end, because that's when we have to make sure the numbers are correct. It reconciles the inventory valuation to the inventory balances, and also it reconciles the inventory balances to the GL. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. It has a set of audits that will help you keep your database healthy. It is multi-database, multi-site, and you can do lots of things. One of them is to break down the inventory or all the reports by warehouse and by location, among other functionality. So what are the modules? Today, we're going to focus mainly on inventory, WIP, and labor, and audit, but it has other modules that you will see on the screen as well. I'm going to point those out, and if you're interested, we can explore them further. We can set up just one-on-one meetings to do that. So the key modules here are inventory. That one allows you to backdate the valuation report, reconciles, calculates consumption, and also you can also calculate the aging report. These days, many people are looking for that because they want to know how old the FIFO layers are if you're in an actual costing system. The work in process, it also backdates to any as of any date, mainly month end. It reconciles, and it has different functionality like the work order tree. The labor helps you with the reconciliation of, absorption accounts. It validates your labor tickets, and you can also calculate efficiencies and many other things. The audit is a module that helps you keep your database healthy. So it's a set of queries that we've built based on user feedback and along these all these years doing consulting, which is packed certain routines that is good for you to run every time you run month end for sure. And then it has other modules like the trace fix, trace tree, paperless inventory count. It has a logic extender. I'm going to explain a little bit of those once we go to the live demo. So in terms of system requirements, it's a .NET app, so it requires the Microsoft .NET framework, and it works with SQL Server. We have customers in Oracle too. However, SQL Server is our main development platform, and you need a Windows environment to be able to run it. It is multi-database and multi-site as well. So what does it do for you? So for the accounting or for the finance department, it is great for visibility. It allows you to capture costing issues very quickly. It streamlines the reconciliation process. You can drill down to transaction details so you can really see what happened for that part, at the part level. For IT and business analysts, it is a great source for building your own queries, because it allows you to create your own scripts that you can add to the actual grids. It also has all the critical queries are already pre-built, so it saves a lot of time for IT as well. And there is no need to access visual. So every time you connect the app to your database, we do not use a visual license. So you can actually work outside visual, you can connect to visual, but work outside visual without using your concurrent licenses. And for internal customers like inventory managers, operational managers, anyone interested in looking at labor, for example, I have customers who are using it for payroll auditing purposes. So HR, there are many internal customers that can get access to the app depending on what the goal is. And it's good because it's a centralized tool. Everybody will see the same information. There is no confusion, and again, there are different areas of visual that you can see by logging into the app. Everything, all the grids are exportable to Excel. So if you prefer to work in Excel after the main reconciliation is done, you can export to Excel, and you can also establish security by module and by reports. So let's see how it works. So this is the inventory app. This is the main screen. When you log into, the first time you install it, you will see an icon like this on your desktop. So it runs from your desktop, but it connects to the server to be able to connect to your database. It is read only, so there is no data going back. It's just only data that is read through the app, and it provides unlimited access to any users. And and it's a centralized app, as we mentioned. So this is the main screen. It has different modules. We have inventory, audits, work in process, labor analytics, physical count. This is a paperless physical count because it allows you to do counts through a tablet. You would basically initiate the count in visual and then go to your shop floor and do your cycle count. And on the count sheet, which is electronic, you collect all the information, and then when you're ready, you analyze the variances, and if you agree, or if you have to do a recount, you can do that too. But if you agree with the numbers, it uploads into Visual, and then Visual takes over, and the system will do the inventory transactions or adjustments, I should say. It has a label generator that is in case you need to label your part IDs or your locations. So you can use the app for that too. Trace tree and the trace fix, which is another module here. Those are for people who use serialized inventory. It helps you basically report on all the traces where they're used and the sequence. So it's a very good way of auditing how your traces have been consumed. It also has a report module that is a centralized reporting viewer. So for those of you who are familiar with SQL reporting services, which is the Microsoft reporting engine, you can create your own reports and you can just view them through this report viewer. So there is, again, another centralized way to share reports with your users. All right, so let's start by looking at the inventory. So the inventory module provides visibility on what happened in the transaction section of the system, right? That's the evaluation report. That's the core of the visual system from an inventory standpoint. So the first step we have to take here is to select the transaction date. And you can see that I have one database connected, that is a single site. But if I want to go to another database, I can use the same screen. And this database is multi-site. So that one allows me to see the inventory by different sites. So it's the same functionality, but you would reconcile inventory by site. In the single site database, you reconcile the inventory just by the main site. Okay, so the first step is to choose the transaction date. And at month end in finance, we need to go back to our month end date. So let's say I go back to June 30th here. I will refresh the screen. The app takes a few seconds, depending on how many parts and transactions you have in your database, but it's typically quite fast. And it shows on the screen your inventory valuation. It's in system currency. You can see here what the FIFO method is, and you can see the errors, some of the errors right away. You can see that we have negative quantity, for example, for certain parts. This is as of the date you chose at the beginning. So this is negative quantity as of month end. What that means is that if we are already in the new month and we know we have negative on hand for the month end we are closing, we have to fix those transactions as of the month end date. Otherwise, our month end will not be accurate. So I can easily filter by this little funnel here which parts have negative quantity on hand. So I can use the filters to say, well, show me anything less than 0. So in just a few seconds, I have a list of all the parts that I need to fix. So I can go back to my inventory manager and say, well, this is what's happening. I need to fix this quantity on hand. And they will know what to do. So I can also drill down and see why my inventory was negative. Well, in this case, I can see that we have lots of adjust outs and one receipt, but that receipt was not enough because it was returned or issued right away. So that's why maybe we need to find out if maybe the receiving people are behind, or there are usually reasons why this is happening. So I can drill down and check what happened, who did the transactions, and all those details just by drilling down. So once I fix all my negatives, I can still can clear the filter, and I can keep reviewing or validating the evaluation report. I can check if I have maybe zero quantity with a value stuck on the evaluation report. That's another common issue. What happened there is that one of the FIFO layers didn't get consumed properly, and we need to recalculate distributions or force the FIFO sometimes on those parts. So the app will basically highlight those type of issues, and you will be able to fix them. Now, once we validate the valuation report, we need to go to the second step of the reconciliation process, which is to reconcile the inventory balance. So by clicking there, I will now select the month and date, a posting date, and I will refresh the screen again. And you will see here that there are two more columns added to the main grid. One is the inventory balance column, and the other one is the difference. So the app automatically calculates what's the difference between the valuation and the balances report as of month end. Now, we know that if we validate the valuation report, the issue is on the balances, and we have to recalculate inventory balances for each specific part where we see the discrepancy. I can also use these filters to determine or to narrow down what those parts are. So I can say, well, show me anything that is greater than $100 and anything that is less than minus 100. So again, in a few seconds, maybe that number was too small. And let's use $1,000 so you can see where the benefit of this is. And so now I have a short list of parts that I need to fix first, because those are the material issues, the material discrepancies. And you can see that the inventory balance is 0. So definitely something went wrong when Visual updated cost and utilities and the secondary table in this database. Okay, so that is the process. In order to look for aging, for example, many people are interested in, finding a straightforward way to calculate obsolescence and finding out what the aging of the inventory is. We could use this grid actually. I added the last transaction in date for this inventory. So if I filter out anything that is quantity 0, or maybe let's filter out the negatives. I want to see anything that is greater than 0. And I check my last in date, I will see that I have inventory still on hand that is coming from past periods. So that's your aging report. And you can do here is maybe eliminate some of the transactions. So if I have, for example, receipts, well, if I have work order receipts or PO receipts, that means that the inventory is pretty new, so I would not really consider it obsolete. It's just I haven't used it yet. So I can easily filter those receipts out. Okay, so you can have a quick inventory aging report now and calculate your obsolescence. Now, I can export anything to any of the grids to Excel just by clicking on Export to Excel. And this goes directly to Excel. There is no CSV file in the middle. It is Excel. As you see it on the screen, it goes to Microsoft Excel. You can do many other things. You can pivot, you can group by the information to get a valuation report by product code, for example, or by commodity code, or by product code and commodity code. You can have many, many levels on these groupings. And then you can explore and see, validate the valuation for each of those groups that way too. So the other features here are basically the analytics. Those are quick graphics that you can gain from the tool. It shows you the inventory evolution, but this is one that is it's quite new. So for users, I think we have some customers already present at this call. This is new. This is an inventory balances by GL that calculates the discrepancy between the GL and the inventory balances. So you can easily identify now what the difference with your GL is. And this is new as well. It's a product code change detector. So what this means is if you changed your product codes at the part level and visual reclassified, we are able now to detect that pretty easily by choosing, you know, a date here, and it will go through the different product codes changes that happened in your database. So that explains why you will see discrepancies at your GL level that you may need to reverse because they may be coming from this product code change that happened. And it tells you which part ID had that change. All right, so this is a brief introduction. There is more functionality here. If you're able to get a trial if you'd like, you can test this. You can calculate consumption. So when you calculate consumption, you select the date range, and that's another way to calculate the obsolete inventory. So you would go back certain periods, and usually it's 2 periods that we review. When we refresh the screen, you will see that the app shows you the quantity consumed, the dollars, and the turns. So you can see which inventory is moving, which one is not, which one you need to probably include in your provision for obsolescence. So this is a brief introduction again for the inventory module. Let's go to the audit. The audit is basically a set of predefined queries that we recommend you run right before finishing your month, just to capture issues, or at least also at least once a week, if possible. I mean, if you have the time, and it's usually a good investment of time because that will save you time when you reconcile. On the WIP area here, it's very similar to inventory. So we have a transaction date and a posting date. So when we can backdate the WIP manufacturing report and also reconcile that report as of month end. And we have drill down capabilities at the work order level. And you can also use this work order diagram here to know what happened inside that job. So which one has labor tickets, which material has been issued. So it's a good way to review the structure of the job and which operations and cards have activity. Again, you can pivot this information and get a WIP report by product code, by commodity code, and many other variables. And you can see here that it calculates, again, the differences. It highlights the discrepancies, and you can narrow it down to just have a short list of all those work orders that we need to fix or take a look at. All right. The labor analytics is a way to show the labor ticket activity. It has lots of information, a dashboard, utilization by department, indirect labor by category, efficiency analysis, employee summary. So there is a lot of information here that people would use to audit payroll and also to reconcile the absorption accounts and to see where that labor went. So I know there is a lot of information. It's in 30 minutes, it's probably very tight to show everything, but I hope you got a good introduction of what the app does. You can actually try it out and download the month-end checklist that our consultants use. And the third question was when we fix those issues. And usually, well, the answer is you fix the costing issues as soon as they happen, given that you have visibility of them. The other best practice is to do it on a weekly basis. So you can use the app to run your month ends weekly and again, streamline that process. And if you have past issues, then it's best to just fix the issues on the current month that you're closing. You never go back, and you do not need to open past periods. So we have some customer testimonials. I'm going to send this presentation to everybody so you can review that. And we have upcoming events as well, which is the one that is coming up is on electronic payments and paperless. So you can register online, or you can also contact your partner and Visual Nuggets if you would like to attend that webinar. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'm going to unmute the lines. If you would like to share your thoughts or your questions, please feel free. No questions? Hello? All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I'll send you a copy, as I said. This is Valeria Vico. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.